Hello and welcome to GamingBolt's mini recap of some of the day's hottest news. We begin with NBA 2K series and its controversial use of microtransactions. Microtransactions in full-price AAA games have come under fire as of late. It's bad enough that they're present in any full-price product to begin with at all, but egregious implementation that relies on almost abusive monetization practices, such as in Star Wars Battlefront 2 and NBA 2K, has caught flack, especially over the last year or so. Star Wars Battlefront 2 course-corrected in terms of microtransactions, and EA has, at least for now, adopted a docile, conciliatory attitude in public regarding them. Not 2K, however. Speaking to trusted reviews, Rob Jones, senior producer on the game, defended the implementation of the in-game currency VC, saying that microtransactions are an unfortunate reality in today's gaming landscape. VC is an unfortunate reality of modern gaming, he says. Every game at some point in some way has currency, and they're trying to get additional revenue from each player that plays the game. You know, the question has to be, when does it feel like it's a straight money grab versus when does it feel like it's value added, right? We know nowadays that most people don't have the patience to work their way to the top. They just want to be there right away. So, we look at it as, oh, it's an opportunity for us to allow you to skip the grind. But then if the grind is too long, like some people felt last year, they're going to sit there and they're going to go, well, you knew the grind was too long to begin with. 2K, I'm going to be real with you here for a minute, okay? If you've designed the grind in your game such that players have to pay you to not play your game, maybe, just maybe you've gone wrong somewhere with how you've approached designing your game. Just some food for thought. Consider this free advice. I won't lock it away behind a made-up currency like VC. It's especially a shame because the actual core game in NBA 2K is great. It's just with these microtransactions that they fumble. As the success of games like God of War has shown us, however, no, it is not necessary for a game to have microtransactions in today's day and age for it to do well. NBA 2K19 launches for PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch and PC on September the 11th. Moving on to the second most important bit of news today, of all the games that have been embroiled in a controversy regarding graphical downgrades over the course of this generation, the most infamous of them all is probably Ubisoft's The Division, which was shown off as a graphical stunner. The final game ended up looking very good, but not as good as had been promised, especially on consoles. Now, before I move ahead, take all of this with a grain of salt. Got it? Okay, let's move ahead. Why did this end up happening? Well, according to a report by VG247, console war politics may have had something to do with it. Citing anonymous sources, the report states that Microsoft had a deal with Ubisoft to have the PS4 version of the game look identical to the Xbox One version, since the Xbox One is a fair bit weaker than the PS4. Remember, this is before the Xbox One S and PS4 Pro existed. This meant that the game couldn't quite achieve its full graphical potential on consoles, being held back by the Xbox One as its cap. On The Division, Xbox had a deal with Ubisoft, and part of that deal was to ensure that the PS4 version did not look better than it, the anonymous source is cited as saying. The resolution, frame rates, and density of assets could have been higher on PS4, but this was vetoed to prevent issues with Microsoft. Okay, wow. Well, if this is true, it's pretty scummy on the part of both Microsoft and Ubisoft. Both were involved in deliberately delivering an inferior product to a large section of the game's base. It's not as bad as Activision, Bungie, and Sony working to keep Destiny content exclusive to the PS4, but it's really bad. With the Xbox One X, Microsoft no longer has to resort to these scummy tactics, but it's pretty shameful that they had to at all, assuming this is true. Once again, remember, it is an anonymous source, so take this report with a grain of salt. And our final bit of news is about the ongoing debate on crossplay. Is anyone else tired of Sony's tone-deaf responses to the controversy surrounding cross-platform play yet? While Microsoft and Nintendo both continue to make strides in the area, Sony keeps doing the opposite, issuing bafflingly ignorant responses such as this one, and also locking people's Fortnite accounts to PS4, which in particular is downright anti-consumer. For as much as they've done right with the vast library of games the PS4 has accrued this generation, crossplay is one area in particular where Sony seem to be completely deaf to demands. Mike Ibarra, corporate vice president of Xbox at Microsoft, recently took to Twitter to talk about Sony's recent comments on crossplay, saying that Sony still isn't listening to gamers, before saying all games should be crossplay and progression with the right input flexibility and gamer options. In response, someone pointed out that Sony's stance makes sense, given the PS4's huge install base. But Ibarra responded by saying that Microsoft, with the Xbox One and Windows, have a much larger and more diverse install base in place, and that they still allow crossplay. "We run Windows and console," he said. "Larger gaming audience who wants to play together. Gaming is diverse. If you only serve to bring joy to part of an audience, then you are behind in many, many ways." Hard to argue with him, but to be fair, Sony does allow crossplay with tablets, mobiles and PC with some of its games, but financially driven decisions have so far led to them being simply unwilling to do the same with Nintendo's and Microsoft's consoles. Really, at this point, I think Sony are just shooting themselves in the foot with any further comments about crossplay.
And that wraps it up. If you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos daily, so make sure you don't miss them by subscribing. We appreciate your support, and we thank you for checking us out.